I'm Effie and this is What Effie Reads. Today's video is probably going to be a fairly quick one. I just thought I would go through some popular books that I haven't read. Some of these are books that I don't really have an interest in, but a lot of them are books that I would like to read, I just haven't yet. So the first book is, the first entry into this list is a whole series of books, and it's the Grishaverse. I haven't read any of the books in the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. I would like to read from the Grishaverse, especially because I'm the kind of person that likes to read the books before I watch the films or the TV shows. So I feel like I'm missing out not watching Shadow and Bone, but also I was recently spoilt to something that is in, I think, Crooked Kingdom, which makes me a little bit sad. But hopefully at some point I will get a chance to read them. I don't actually own any of the Grishaverse as well, and it feels like a big commitment because there is such an expansive universe now. The second entry onto my list is that I've actually never read anything by Agatha Christie. I've heard great things about her work, I just have never happened to pick any of it up. The next entry on this list is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I believe that's how it's said. I'm probably getting it completely wrong. I don't own an English edition of this book. I did buy a copy of it in French from one of the booksellers along the Seine. It just felt so like such a cool thing to do, to buy a book in that way and for it to be The Little Prince. My knowledge of French isn't great, which is why I've never picked it up. Like, I think I probably, because it is a kid's book, would be able to read it or at least pick up enough based on context, but I haven't tried, and my copy isn't up here, it's still at my parents'. But I do plan on reading it at some point. The next entry on this list is the Da Vinci Code, or pretty much anything by Dan Brown, actually. I was in secondary school when the Da Vinci Code came out, and I remember the controversy around it because it was so naughty, so dogma, and I was in Catholic school at the time, and I wasn't like, I feel like despite being in a religious school and, having to do religion as a subject, it being very Christian focused when you were doing religion as a subject, it didn't feel like a very indoctrinated school, but they weren't too fond of the idea of the Da Vinci Code. And I get that, like, I think, like I said, I've never read it, but my impression of it was that it's very atheistic to the point that it like spits on religion. So that doesn't appeal to me. I'm very much the kind of person that, like, I don't like heavily religious, like, trying to convert you, but I also don't like the kind of disrespectful atheistic stuff where kind of saying, oh no, you can't have faith. The next book on this list is a book that I think is actually on my 21 in 21, and it is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I feel like everyone and their dog has read this book, largely because I think it was a set text at a lot of schools. It wasn't a set text that I had to read, so I've never read it. I know nothing about this book, but I feel like I'm missing out having not read it. I don't know. I've paired the next two books together, although they come from very different places, and it's Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov and My Dark Vanessa by Elizabeth Russell. And I've talked about this before, but I'm not really interested in this kind of story. And from what I know about Nabokov's work, well, about Lolita, it's very creepy. Like I get that it's meant to be critical, but it also feels like it's quite lustful of this person who is a child. So it's not something that I'm really interested in reading, like even slightly. And then My Dark Vanessa is just, I don't think it's the right content for me. The next book is Charlotte's Web. I know this is like a very nostalgic book that a lot of people are fond of, but I've just never read it, so I don't know what it's about beyond something about a spider, I think, and I think there's a pig. Like, possibly I'd want to read it, but I also think that a lot of what people love about it is the nostalgia. Another book, well, these are all books I haven't read. The Book Thief is another one of these books that I obviously haven't read. It is one that I would like to read. I couldn't find my copy today, but I'm hoping to read it at some point in the future. I've heard exceptional things about it. I just have never gotten around to actually reading it. The Percy Jackson series is a series that I'm interested in reading, although I have heard that it's one of these where I may not love as much as an adult. Like if I'd grown up reading them, I would probably still love them, but I'm a bit nervous going into it because I've heard that it is one of those that without the nostalgic element to it, you don't get as much love for it. The Time Traveler's Wife, uh, I'm terrible. I don't know any. I haven't written down the names of the authors for any of these. Sorry. So The Time Traveler's Wife is another book that I know is super popular, but I've never read. It is a book that I would like to read, but I am a little bit intimidated because it's a really chunky book. The next entry I've got on this list is one that I'm kind of angry that I haven't read yet, and it is A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I listened to Circe last year, I think maybe April last year, and really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great retelling. And I've heard so many good things about A Song of Achilles. I just haven't picked it up yet. I think it's one of those where I would like to get a copy from the library, but I'm not sure if my library doesn't have it or if it's just like really unavailable because it's so well loved. But hopefully soon. And the last two entries on this list are relatively newer books. So we have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is a book that I feel like has been getting a lot of hype this year. And from what I understand, it's like deserving of all the hype that it has been getting. But I'm also a little bit scared to pick it up because I've heard like such good things about it. But I also haven't heard anything negative. And I don't want to be that person that picks it up and then ends up not liking it. So I'm scared. And then the final entry. Oh, apparently I have another set of books. It isn't the final entry. So we've got the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And this is one that is kind of bonkers that I haven't read, because I've ordered both the Illumicrate and the Fairy Loot editions of this series, and I don't know if I'm going to like it. So I'm a little bit scared, but also this book is absolutely stunning. So I think it's one that I'm probably going to keep even if I don't love the series. The final one, I think I picked up on a whim. It wasn't on my original list, but it's one that I feel like I should have read by now, and it is His Dark Materials trilogy. I've had this set for absolutely years. I don't even know when this series first came out. It's saying this series came out in 95 and this edition was published in 98. Now, I don't know if this whole set is from 98, but if it is, that's terrifying. Okay, so is this the last book in the series? Yeah, this is the last book in the trilogy. And this one says this edition's from 2001. So this box set could be 20 years old and I still haven't read it. So probably it's going to have to be, if I don't read it this year, it's going to have to be a top priority next year, since it has been so long that I've had these books and I still haven't read them. Especially now that we're getting another series set in this world. And obviously I haven't read those yet because I haven't read His Dark Materials. But that's all of the popular books that I could think of that I haven't read yet. Please, in the comments down below, comment popular books and I will let you know if I have read them or not. And until next time, bye!